This episode is brought to you by Neurocrine Biosciences. Thank you, Neurocrine, for helping NADF continue to educate, bring about awareness, and save lives. Welcome to All Things Adrenal. Each episode, we'll hear stories from individuals living with adrenal disease, share updates on treatments, research, protocols, interview medical professionals, and explore all things adrenal together. I'm your host, Vanessa O'Rourke, NADF Community Engagement Manager and fellow adrenal warrior. Today, I am thrilled to introduce our guest, Elizabeth Reidy. Elizabeth is a 26-year-old from Charlotte, North Carolina. In February 2022, Elizabeth was diagnosed with primary adrenal insufficiency, a moment that reshaped her life and challenged her to develop a new level of resilience and self-advocacy. Active her entire life, Elizabeth refused to let her diagnosis slow her down. Instead, she set out to push her body to new limits. Since then, she's completed countless 5Ks, several 10Ks, and ran her first half marathon in November 2025. When she's not training, Elizabeth is a huge fan of pop culture and sports. If it's trending or there's a game on, chances are she's talking about it. Through this podcast, Elizabeth is excited to share her journey and inspire others living with adrenal insufficiency to stay active, informed, and empowered. With that, welcome, Elizabeth.
Hey, Vanessa. So excited to be here.
I am thrilled to have Elizabeth on. I've been wanting her to join for a long time. Side note too, Elizabeth is one of my good friends, so it's always fun to have a buddy on here. But I have been incredibly inspired by Elizabeth's journey and have been eager to share what she's gone through and pursued and accomplished since her diagnosis with everyone. So with that, let's go to the very beginning so we can kind of shape what's happened and what's going on. And if you don't mind just starting out by sharing what your diagnosis journey kind of looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my entire life, like you said, I was very active. I played sports growing up. I ran track in high school. In college, I continued running and weightlifting and just always trying to do new things with my body. Throughout my life, I can look back at times now and say, that might have been Addison showing up. Like, my body always reacted to stress, not feeling well, whether that was feeling like I was going to pass out, throw up, or dizzy, or whatever it might be. So I think throughout my life, there were little instances that this might have been happening for a long time. But in college, it really started getting a lot worse, where I was seeing more instances of feeling like I was going to pass out or throwing up more, which had really never happened earlier in my life that frequently. In 2020, my father was diagnosed with cancer and thankfully beat it and is doing really well. But it was a very stressful time, like both personal life and also like society, of what we were going through with the coronavirus. That is really when things started showing up, I think, now looking back. I started feeling dizzy. I was nauseous a lot. I was having more instances of feeling like I was going to throw up. I was also going to tournaments with my brother who played lacrosse. I was doing sports photography for them. And, I live in North Carolina. It was like 120 degrees out. And I remember driving to one tournament, and I don't think I've ever even told anyone this, but like I literally threw up on myself driving. And I was like, this is, something's wrong, like that's not normal. But again, my body had always just reacted to things like that not doing well. So I was like, well, I'm stressed. It is what it is. Things started to progress over the next year. My grandfather was then diagnosed with cancer. And throughout that year, I also graduated college, started my first big girl job. And I started noticing a lot more of this, like not feeling well, throwing up at more lacrosse tournaments that I was going to, and just overall I was not doing well. But I was watching my grandfather go through a really hard time and not doing well. And I was like, no, this makes sense. Like, I'm just stressed. Once we move past this, I'll be okay. Sadly, in November of that year, my grandfather did pass away, and 3 days after, I started vomiting every day, everything I threw up. And that's when I was like, okay, yeah, something's really, really wrong. So I started going to doctors, and at that point in time, all I could really point to was those gastro issues, is like what was wrong with me. So a lot of the doctors I was going to were just kind of brushing me off and saying I was stressed and I was just having acid reflux and whatever. And I'm like, I don't think that's the case, but I don't know. So I finally got an endoscopy, and sadly that doctor was not very kind to me and kind of just told me I needed to do yoga and drink some tea. And I remember getting in the car after with my mom, and I just looked at her and started crying. And I was like, Mom, something is wrong with me. I'm not making this up, and I don't know what to do. So thankfully, my mom, she's amazing and advocates for me to this day more than I could ever ask her to. But she starts researching things. And like one of the main things for me is pretty much anyone with Addison's, like my skin color. I was orange, looked like I had been in the Caribbean for like 14 days, and it was December. So my mom starts Googling skin colors. Now, unbeknownst to me, this is what she's doing. She comes with me to a primary doctor and was like, hey, what do you think about her skin color? What about her cortisol? Could we test that? And I remember the nurse looking at me, and she was like, well, I thought that you just had makeup on and you were self-tanning. And I was like, oh, no, this is just me. So finally my mom had asked her to test my cortisol. I get tested for it. And I remember getting a note from this nurse. She like forwarded a message from her doctor that said, I think she might have adrenal insufficiency. So I go look it up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, all of these symptoms are everything that's been happening to me, but it happened so slowly that I didn't even realize that I was experiencing low blood pressure, feeling like I was going to pass out when I stood up. I just thought these things were normal. I had lost like 20 pounds. I was not doing well, but I didn't really know how bad it was. And like one thing about my diagnosis that I thought was kind of crazy is like, I always thought you would be like sat down in a doctor's office and they'd walk through like what you have, how to help you, what you're going to do going forward. No, I literally got a message on the portal with my numbers, and then someone said, hey, we think you have this. We're going to refer you to an endo. Pardon me? Like, this just changed my life, and that's all I've got. After that, I had 2 weeks of waiting for this endocrinologist to call me to schedule an appointment, which, like, looking back is insane because I was on no medication, knew what I had, but no one knew anything about it at the doctor's office. So I finally get to the endo, and she told me I didn't have Addison's. And I was like, everything I'm looking at is pointing to that, including the blood work. She said to me, and I'll never forget this, she looked me in my eyes and said, you'd be dead by now if you had this. And I was just like, well, I'm not. So, and I did say to her later in an appointment, like, are you impressed that I'm not dead? And she didn't really find that funny, but I was like, hey, you can't say that to patients. But anyway, so she wouldn't put me on my medication. I ended up just starting to take hydrocortisone myself and trying to do what I could because I was doing my own research, my own advocacy, because I wasn't really helped in the very beginning. Those first 2 weeks, I really had no one saying, you need to do this with the medication. This is your injection. This is what's going to go on for the rest of your life. Like, I had none of that. So it was kind of frustrating. And in the beginning, I felt like I was just kind of wandering around trying to like help myself, which is kind of crazy, but I do feel like fairly relatable for most people that have been diagnosed with adrenal insufficiency or really any chronic illness. You're just trying to like advocate for yourself and try to survive.
Thank you for sharing all that. You have gone through so much in such a short amount of time. I'm deeply sorry about all the challenges and grief that you had to go through, but like what a crazy, I mean, just to repeat back, because I think this is a thing that we all dismiss from our own personal symptoms or experiences, is like sometimes when our bodies don't work, we start just blaming extenuating factors and we aren't necessarily listening to our body or the symptoms, and we kind of downplay them or don't think much of it. Like you're saying, like, my body just responds this way. I tend to throw up. I get stressed out. Like, that is not normal. And this is nothing against you. I'm just saying I went through the same things. Like your brain just is like, oh, everyone feels like this. This is a normal thing.
Yeah, it's like survival mode.
100%. We just talk ourselves into these loops. And what a great nurse. Well, 2 nurses. First nurse, great. Plugged those notes in, had that suspicion. That nurse gets 10 gold stars. Other nurse, 0 stars.
Yep.
Also, how crazy is it and I know anybody listening to this with medical diagnoses or trauma or experiences, we remember those things verbatim that doctors say, and they stay with us forever because it was dismissive or terrible bedside manner or just not appropriate. And I'm so sorry that that happened to you, but I'm fairly certain that everyone listening has a similar sentence or story or experience, which is just, this is not a shame on all doctors or nurses. It's just with this medical condition being quote unquote rare, so many people dismiss it. Telling you that you would have been dead if you had this. Like when I went through my diagnosis, I asked to be tested for Addison's disease because I had a family history. And the doctor said to me, well, it's really rare, so I doubt you have it. Meanwhile, I was also bright orange as a carrot next to him. Like, really, dude?
That's just crazy. And it's very sad. Like most of the doctors that I've dealt with have not been that way, but it is very sad that like, had I just listened to her and not pushed back, I might not have been diagnosed, and like who knows where I would have gone. Like it's just truly wild. Or if like my mom hadn't Googled what skin color changing meant.
Truly. Thank goodness to mom too for stepping up and doing that, because that is sometimes researching and Googling, even though that can be misinformation or unhelpful, it can lead to some clarity, especially when doctors aren't doing that for you. So
yeah, absolutely. She knows she saved my life. I've thanked her pretty much every day since
thanks,
that happened,
Mom. So. Love you.
Yeah, we love you, Diane.
Okay, so what a crazy time too. You're this young adult trying to navigate the world in a strange pandemic. You're going through family difficulties, you know, your father and your grandfather going through loss, and you get this diagnosis. Your poor system has now been completely changed. You have new information. So I know your day-to-day was probably not normal prior to that because of the current situation of the world and your current family situation and how you were feeling. But how did your diagnosis change your day-to-day? You know, once you had that information, once you got the proper medication, like how did that change things for you?
Yeah, I think like you said, I had so much going on at that time that like I can say like I've now had this for 4 years. I would probably say the last 6 years, like I feel like a very different person. So like this even just made it that much more different from my day to day. Like there's not a part of my day that I can point to and say it hasn't changed because of Addison's. I think one thing about having a chronic illness, having a rare disease that people don't really understand is like the mental load that we take on from it. You know, I wake up every morning, I take my medicine immediately. I kind of like lay in bed and let it wake me up. And then I get up and I start getting ready for the day, but I'm taking like it, and this is like autopilot at this point. I'm taking like a mental inventory of like, am I in pain? Am I fatigued? Is there anything wrong? What's going well? And is there anything throughout my day that I might need to change, whether that's taking extra meds, updosing, taking more electrolytes, salt, eating differently, or like changing what I'm actually about to do, like going into the office or having plans throughout the day. And like throughout the rest of the day, I am also taking inventory and making sure, because like things are changing constantly in our bodies. I think anyone with Addison's like knows that it's constant. It is not like I wake up in the morning and the rest of the day I'm good or I'm not good. It's like I could wake up in the morning and 2 hours later I feel like crap and I have to go home and lay down. And in my family we call it like cocooning. I need to be on my couch in a cocoon. So I think that's one part of like that's very much changed, is like my days are very different. From one day to another I could wake up and feel like crap and I don't even know why. So I think there's a lot of things that are different and people don't really understand that. I also think like from the day I was diagnosed to today, not every day is the same in terms of like taking medication or supplements or whatever. I have an amazing, amazing nurse practitioner that I found at a practice up in Michigan. She also has Addison's. Her name is Lauren, and there's several people I can point to my life and say, you changed my life. She is one of them. We talk every 3 months, and there's constantly things that are changing with my body and things that I need to take different supplements for, whether it's like increasing some, decreasing others, taking new ones. We're still working through like my gut health right now is like absolutely terrible. And I think that's also different. Like it's not just I take the medicine and I keep going and I'm good. I also have to change a lot because my body is actively fighting against itself with like an autoimmune disease. So a lot has changed for me day to day with Addison's.
I love that you said, oops, now my brain forgot the vocabulary word you used, but I'm hearing checklist. That's not what you said. Inventory. Yeah,
Yes.
I love that you said you're taking inventory throughout the day, because I think that's a huge misconception is that people just think you get a diagnosis, or you don't feel good. You go to a doctor, you get a diagnosis. They give you medicine, you take the medicine, everything's fine. Theoretically, in a perfect world, that would be great. And it might work for some conditions. With adrenal insufficiency, not so much the case, because there's so many extenuating factors. There's so much that changes all day long. We do not have a way to check our cortisol levels. We are guessing how much medicine to take, technically, to a degree. You're guessing how much your body needs every single day. And any physical, mental, or emotional stress is going to require additional cortisol in order to function. So you saying that you're taking this inventory multiple times a day is reiterating, as a reminder to those of us with adrenal insufficiency or adrenal disease, like, we got to constantly check in, because we're the ones managing it. And if we need more, we got to take more. So I really like that you said, yeah, that definitely changes your life when you've got a little running checklist going, like, oh, am I breathing? Am I walking? Am I talking? Which is, you don't really think like you would, if those things were to decrease, you'd think that you'd be like, oh, wow, my breathing is weird, or my walking is weird. When you're low cortisol, your brain doesn't really naturally go, oh, something's wrong. So having that reminder to check in multiple times a day, I think that's great, because I definitely do that in the mornings, and I'm like, oh, I feel awful today. I should probably stress dose for whatever reason, or for no reason. Also, gentle reminder. Right. Sometimes there is no reason that we find tangibly. Sometimes our body just needs a little extra support, and we don't know the reason why. And that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, when something is wrong with your body. And I think I actually just found a new endocrinologist in Charlotte, and she said to me, and I thought this was really interesting, because I have had a hard time with the fact that I have to take this medication to stay alive. That has been a very hard acceptance for me. But she said this to me, and I thought this was really interesting and kind of changed my perspective. She said, your adrenal glands don't work. You are your adrenal glands. You're in control of that now, and you have to take that inventory, but you're in control of what you're doing. And I was like, I like that perspective versus just being like, oh, it doesn't work and I've got to figure it out. It's you're in control and you're your own adrenal gland.
Yeah, you're the one that's filtering the appropriate cortisol to the appropriate channels. I like that.
Yeah.
You're finding, don't get me wrong, I know you've had negative experiences, but you're finding good doctors also that we like.
I am very grateful for the people that I have found.
Okay, so your day-to-day, you've got this inventory, you're monitoring things, you're cocooning when you need to, adjusting to this new version of yourself. So let's talk a little bit about training and what that looked like after your diagnosis. Maybe give us a little pre-diagnosis, what that looks like and how it looks now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think pre-Addison's, when I was thinking about answering this question, I really don't think I've ever thought about it. But pre-diagnosis, pre-Addison's, I would just go out and run or weightlift or whatever I was doing. Hydrating, eating protein, stretching, resting, all of those things were important and would help me, of course. But post-diagnosis, some of those things kind of feel like life or death now. If I don't hydrate enough and I go run, I might get too dehydrated and come back and, I'll be in my cocoon for the rest of the day, or, it might trigger a crisis. And so I think now what has changed about my training is that I have to do those things. I have to take a dose an hour before I want to go work out. I have to hydrate an hour before I work out. I'm also hydrating and taking electrolytes while I'm working out. And a lot of those things, I think I was just flippant about when I was younger. And now it's so important to me and always top of mind. I had a friend say to me the other day, she's like, before you were diagnosed, you drank more water than anyone I ever know. But now, you are on top of it and it's still not even enough for you, which is just kind of crazy. So, when I go out to run in particular, I have a hydration vest that I wear. So I have my injection with me. I have 2 waters, one with just plain water and one with electrolytes in it. I have salt sticks, which I keep with me to pop in every 15 minutes that also have electrolytes. I keep sugar on me, and then I usually have some extra medicine just in case something happens. So, I never did any of that before. I would literally just make sure my headphones were charged and I'd go out and run. So I think training has looked a lot different from just the prep perspective. But then actually running, like I used to be able to push my body to a lot farther limits, and the consequences were a lot less. Like, yes, I might be sore. I might have, I don't know, tweaked something or whatever it might be. But now if I push myself too hard, I'm down and out for a week, or I'm not going to be able to work out as much the rest of the week if I do too much. So there's a lot of planning, I think, that goes into like, okay, this week I'm going to run on Monday, but then on Tuesday I'm going to walk. Wednesday I'll do Pilates. Thursday I'll run again, and then I'll see how I'm feeling after that. But like, I can't do every single day of working out. Like, I think in high school I was in weightlifting class and running after school 5 days a week, and then doing a track meet on Saturdays. I cannot imagine doing that now. So there's just a lot that's different about like trying to train with this diagnosis.
I think it's incredible to point out, and I think this is just a healthy perspective as healthy people. When we were healthy people, let's just say there was a time when we were healthier. It's so crazy what you take for granted and what you don't think about. And now the amount, like you said, the type of planning and preparation, and no matter all that stuff, and you are planning and prepping, clearly, you've got your vest. I want one. I don't run, but I just want one to wear in life, to have salt with me and amazing. Water. I mean, like I have my own thing, but like, it's like a vest, bring it on.
No, it's
all
amazing.
This prep and all this planning and all these things, but that doesn't mean it's going to work out perfectly. Like you probably, I don't want to speak for you, but you probably still have to adjust and modify depending on how your body is responding in that particular moment.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll go out for a run some days and then I'll get 5 minutes in and I'm like, oh, today is not my day. And I just need to walk home. And I think that's something that I've also really had to adjust my mindset on, is it's okay not to do it every single day. If I plan to run that day and I can't, that's no problem. Like, we can adjust. And that is one thing that has taken a lot of acceptance for me, is like that there's going to be bad days. Like right now I'm in an extended flare is what I would say. Like, I've spent 4 weeks of barely being able to work out. I haven't run in 4 weeks. And am I frustrated? Yes, I'm not going to sugarcoat that, but I also know that like I will get back to it, and that's okay. But I have to be okay with resting and doing what I can right now. Like, I'm swimming or doing Pilates and like low impact things that will still let me move my body, but at some point I will get back to running, and that's no problem. But that's a hard acceptance.
I'm really grateful that you shared that, and I'm proud of you as a friend and as a fellow Addie warrior that you find that mindset. And, I try to do the same and feel the same way, but obviously there's a roller coaster and ups and downs. And sometimes your brain just goes, no, I'm just going to be real mad that I can't do what I want to do.
Oh yeah.
But also I'm a visual person, and I used to teach preschool. So this is the thing I used to teach preschoolers, is that like what's happening to us physically or mentally or emotionally. I like to think of it as weather. And, we are the sky, our bodies, our brains, we are sky. And sometimes there's going to be cloudy weather. Sometimes there's going to be stormy weather. Sometimes there's going to be a tornado, but sometimes there's going to be sun. And the one thing we know about the weather is it's always constantly changing. And so in those moments when, you are in extended flares and you cannot move your body to the same way you want to, it is so helpful to remind yourself, like you are and like you shared, that this isn't permanent. This will shift. There will be a change. And sometimes things do change. Sometimes we get new diagnoses or new symptoms. And then, if we have a new normal, then we modify with that and we find things that work with. At least I'm sharing that that's what I do with my personal experience, because I used to be far more active, and I'm always in awe of my friends with Addison who are still able to maintain a semblance of that old life. Mine is mostly just walking and gentle stretching.
That's okay though. You're still moving your body.
Right. It's the modifying of what is the season of my system right now. My system is in a season of walks and stretching, and that is all. And it is hard to shift and adjust with it, but it takes a lot of willpower and mind power. So kudos to you for being on that path.
Thank you. I mean, I'm in therapy. Let's not, it's not an easy.
Also important.
Yes. We're working on it.
It's so funny with my therapist the other day. And to go on a moment, she asked me, like, does that frustrate you that you have to rest so much, that you miss out on so many things? And honestly, I think there are times, but for the most part, it really doesn't anymore. Is it weird that I just get used to it? And I'm like, I personally have also been in a flare. And so I've been in
horizontal mode, like I like to call it, for a week. And it's just normal. Is that weird? Do you feel that way? Or does it feel...
Yeah. I don't think I'm there yet in my acceptance. My therapist and I have talked about this a lot. Like, I don't think there's a part of me that I still don't think has accepted that I have this. And I still do get frustrated, like when I'm in a flare and like some of my friends are like, oh, I got to run today, or, oh, I'm going out tonight and doing this. And then in the morning I'm going to work out and I'm going to go, like, they're able to do a lot more with their bodies. And I think also at my age, like, it's kind of hard with like the comparison of other people. Am I a homebody? Yes. I love being in my bed. I love sitting on my couch and binge watching shows, but I think I'm still not at the point of like, I'm okay with resting all the time. Like, my mom knows I've cried to her over the past 3 weeks so many times because I'm just frustrated. I'm like, I just want to get back to being okay. So I'm not that level, but I can't wait to be Vanessa.
Well, I'm not saying it's 100% sunshines and rainbows. Like, I'm still, like, I think I sat in bed and cried all day yesterday. But I also know, like, if I get up and do anything, it will hurt worse. It'll be... Right. It's so funny because I hear you, and you and I are in different seasons, we're different ages. So it is hard to compare to healthy people and where everyone else is at and where your friends are at and what you're doing. And I do that from time to time. But I think the thing that I get most jealous about or frustrated, which is, and maybe this is a minor thing, but it feels so huge to me. The two things I'm most jealous about is that people can wear whatever they want, which sounds... I have sensory stuff, but I can't regulate body temperature. I have a lot of inflammation due to other chronic illnesses. So I can't wear whatever I want. It is very much, I have to wear little to nothing, whatever. I've found things that work for me, but I used to really love fashion. And I am kind of a fashion designer with my small business with knitting and crochet. And like, I can't wear 90% of the things that I make and or that I love. So I can't wear what I want. And so I get jealous about other people that they can wear what makes them happy. And I like that for them. But of course I get jealous. But I also get jealous that people can just eat whatever they want. Which is, you and I have had plenty of gastro stories together, but it's like, what is it like to, you're hungry and you just put something in your mouth and you eat it? Like, you don't have to think about it. You don't have to think about the ramifications. You don't have to think about what's in it. You don't have to, go to a
restaurant and be able to order
without
anything
thinking
you want. That is my dream. Like, honestly, I have told people this, like, I'm gluten-free. I have Addison's. I recently started having a garlic sensitivity, and like, I'm not kidding, that's ruining my life. Like, more than anything else.
No garlic. Like, those ones get me.
Yes, that makes me so mad. Like, I was at a restaurant and all my friends are ordering, and like, they're ordering like chicken tenders and salads with dressings. I'm like, I want that so bad. Like, sometimes I'll say to my brother, like, he'll get like a meatball sub. I'm like, can I just watch you eat that? Because it looks so good.
I do this with my partner. I'm like, let me smell it. It's like when people are with us, they think I'm a crazy person. I'm like, I literally can't eat it, so I might as well smell it and enjoy it. We were just on out of town recently, and it's very hard to eat when you travel. I pack a lot of stuff, but processed food doesn't really do well with my system. But we try to find like a Whole Foods or something where I can have a fresh salad situation. But oh my God, this was like the worst Whole Foods ever. And the only thing they had in the salad bar that I could have was just like lettuce and broccoli and carrots. And there was no dressing that I could have. And I was literally just eating this dry salad, so miserable, glaring at my husband. I was like, this is the worst thing I've ever eaten in my life. So
no, I just would not eat. Like, props to you for even doing that. I'd be like, I'll starve. It's fine.
It was bad. Which, like, and I'm a veggie person. I love my veggies, but like, no one wants a dry salad. No one wants that. No. It's not a good time. But
it's miserable.
So those are the things, like, and I don't know. I guess that's where my brain is like, I think I would rather be able to wear whatever I want and eat whatever I want than... I went on a major tangent there, so sorry, but...
Oh, no, I loved it.
I think it's also important to share because I think many of us process and grieve in different ways. And again, there are many a days, like I used to be a backpacker where I see my friends who are hiking and doing the trails that I can't do anymore. And I'm like, wouldn't that be nice? And who knows, maybe someday in the world that's an option. But right now, again, my body's not in a season that allows for that.
It's ever changing.
It's ever changing, though. It's
frustrating
the thing that we do
and
know.
Hopeful.
Okay, so here's the big question, because I will never do it, and I don't know, maybe people are braver than me. Running is not for me. I've got joint issues, so it's not something that's going to happen. But can you tell us what it's like running in a half marathon with adrenal insufficiency? Because that just sounds crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it sounds crazy to me too. If you had said to me a year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago that I would have done this, like I would have laughed. My high school track coach literally was like, I can't believe you're doing this. I used to run, for reference, I was a short sprinter. I used to run 55 meters. That was my best race. So like times that by 400 or maybe more, I don't even know. Running this experience, like the proudest I've been as an adult and like the coolest experience that I've done so far for a plethora of reasons. So I ran the Charlotte Marathon or half marathon in November of this past year. For reference, 6 months prior, I was in the hospital with my first adrenal crisis. I was in the ICU for 4 days, I believe, and got out of it and really didn't know what life was going to look like. The actual crisis to me was different than what I would have expected, which I'll share because I think this was something I did not know literally until a year ago. My doctors had always kind of made it seem like if I was going into a crisis, I would pass out or something major would happen and someone else would be giving me the injection. Do I know how to use the injection? Yes. Did I ever think I'd use it on myself? No. The way mine happened was very different. I started throwing up and then it just kind of spiraled of all of a sudden now I've lost so much fluids. And I said to my mom, I think I need to go to the hospital. She took my blood pressure. I don't remember what it was at, but it was something like 50/30. So obviously very low. We ended up going to the hospital and like that's when they told me that it's mostly gastro things that send you into a crisis, which for anyone listening, if you didn't know that, now you know. Learn how to use that injection on yourself because I had no idea. But anyways, I was in the hospital with a crisis, came out of it and was just kind of like, okay, I need to go slow. I need to take this. My muscles feel like they're not there anymore. So I started going to Pilates. I started very, 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 very slowly running again. I ran a few races that summer. Kind of was just like, I'll see how it goes and I'll walk as much as I need. I don't really care. I just want to be out there. And I ran a 10K with my family in September. And I was like, I did pretty well considering. Like, I feel like I could maybe run this half marathon. I had one of my best friends was moving to Charlotte and was training for it. I had another really good friend training for it. And I was just kind of like, well, and like one thing about me, if I have a setback with Addison's, I'm going to come back 110% harder. And I don't know what that says about me, but I'm going to beat it in whatever way I can. And I'm using air quotes. So I start training for this and was just kind of like, I'm not going to sign up for it because I don't know if I can do this. I've only run like 5 miles as long as I'd run prior to this. So let's just see how it goes. And what I'll say is like, I'm not going to sugarcoat and say I was so confident going into this. I was very, very, very scared to run this race from the standpoint of, again, 6 months prior, I was in the hospital. I've been training, but like not that long, which was not great. And also, like, if I'm running this race and something happens, all the roads are closed. What if someone can't get to me? What if I can't get to the hospital? What if the paramedics don't know about Addison's? Like, there's so many things that go through your head when you're thinking about doing something like this. It's going to take a couple of hours to run. So, about 2 weeks prior, and like, I mentioned my family. All of my family is very active. My brother played D1 lacrosse. My dad played baseball and hockey in college and still works out to this day. My mom was a figure skater, taught figure skating, now is getting back into it. So like my whole family's always been very active. So about 2 weeks before this half marathon, my dad calls me and he was like, hey, I know you're really nervous about this. Would it help if I ran it with you? And I was like, Dad, it would, but can you? Like, have you even been training for this? And he was like, no, but I'm going to do it. I'm like, okay. And he just said, he was like, listen, I want you to feel comfortable that if something happened and it's not going to, but if it did, someone's there that knows what to do and you're going to be okay. So he and I ran this race together and coolest experience running it with my dad. We started off the first mile and I was feeling so great. Get to the mile marker, I sprained my ankle. And I kind of fell over to the side and I'm like, you're actually kidding me. And like, I know I've said this to you, Vanessa, like one of the things that really bothers me about having a chronic illness is like, you're dealing with chronic illness stuff. And then you're also dealing with the normal people stuff. So like spraining my ankle, okay, sure. I'm also dealing with like a plethora of other things on top of this and the mental load of it all. So I'm angry. I'm so mad. I'm like, I did not come this far. I just bought a finisher sweatshirt yesterday. Like, I'm finishing this race. So I got up and like, if anyone listening knows David Goggins, my brother's obsessed with him. He's an ultra marathoner, motivational speaker. He was in the army. he has a lot of inspirational things to say. And like, I won't repeat what I said to myself when I got up, but it was along the lines of, you are doing this. And I just kept repeating it over and over to myself as we started walking. I popped some hydrocortisone and we kept going. Went way slower than I wanted to, walked a lot more, but running that race with my dad, who was wearing a My Daughter's Awesome shirt and a rare disease hat, people were like yelling out to him every 5 minutes, like, your daughter is awesome. We ran past, I mentioned my dad had cancer. We ran past the Living Cancer Institute in Charlotte, which is where he was treated. I'm going to try not to cry on this podcast as I say this, but
I'm already crying, so it's fine.
I know I'm like getting emotional. And I know my dad will probably cry when he listens to this, but running past that with him, all I could think about was, this is two people that have gotten a second, third, fourth chance at life, running 13 miles together, pushing our bodies. Really the coolest thing ever. Like, I have chills just thinking about it. So I know that like he was meant to do that with me. And like, we also ran it on the anniversary of his father passing. We saw a man that was like wearing my grandfather's college hat and like looked just like him. Like, it was just the coolest experience. Like, we knew we were meant to be there kind of thing. So anyways, we finished. I sobbed. I don't know how I finished this race, quite frankly. When I started walking after, like, my ankle was so swollen and I was in so much pain, but it was just so cool. And like, what I'll say about doing a half marathon with Addison's is, there's a lot of people that are running marathons and half marathons in this world right now. I think it is like 2% of people have run a half marathon in the world or something like that. Doing it with a chronic illness, doing it with adrenal insufficiency, like, I look at that and I'm like, I am so much stronger than anybody that did it without it because I was able to do it with a chronic illness, with a sprained ankle, and I still finished. And I just think that that's like the coolest thing. And it's something I am so deeply proud of.
As you should be. You are so
Thank
cool.
you.
That is so, honestly, you could have just shown up at the starting line and been like, I came and I left, and I would still be like, that is the coolest thing ever. So proud of you for even attempting. That's so brave. It's so, and I'm not trying to make this like some inspirational. It is though. It's just, it is, as someone who has chronic illnesses and has goals or things that I want to do or wanted to do, it is so empowering and so satisfying and so inspiring when your community does that above and beyond. And the fact that you got to do it with your dad, with this whole memorable experience, yeah, there's no way I could have done any of it. I would have just been laying on the floor crying the entire time. So you're a superhero. No. And I am so, I remember afterwards when you told us that you sprained your ankle, I was so mad at the universe and also so in shock that you kept going. I couldn't believe it. But also that's very much you to just keep going like that. It's incredible. You should be so proud.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think like having a chronic illness has taught me like that you just kind of have to keep going. Like spraining my ankle, it's like, okay, well, I've already dealt with so much. I was literally in the ICU 6 months ago. If I can get through that, I can get through running with a sprained ankle. I'm going to be fine. So my pain tolerance is certainly a lot higher thanks to Addison's.
Well, and I think actually chronic illness and medical trauma and medical conditions, and I know you and I personally have shared, we have other similar medical conditions, like those things, they do, you know, I am not a scientist, but they do rewire your brain. Like pain rewires how your nervous system and your brain, I'm not thinking of the right vocabulary words, but how things transmute in your body. And going through so much pain and so much physical and mental duress and medical trauma, it's not that everyone has to come out of it stronger and fighting and being like, well, I did that, so I can handle anything now. It's just, it does reshape you and it does change the course of how you navigate the rest of the world. And some things seem very minor due to that. And that is another thing that I struggle with comparing other people when other people are complaining about X, Y, or Z. And I do consider myself a very mindful, or I attempt to be very mindful or compassionate towards other people, but it is sometimes hard when the complaint is something about like, gosh, and not even just like someone complaining about something about their job and being like, what I wouldn't give to be able to have a job again. Like, I mean, yes, I'm here at NADF and I love it. I'm so grateful for what I do, but I work part-time from my bed because I don't have the ability to go in. I wish that I still had my career. I loved my career. I loved what I did. I felt so connected and so supported. So it's, there's rewiring in a positive way, making you more resilient. And it's not, again, not everyone has to be resilient, and you don't have to prove anything to anyone. Going through what we go through as people with chronic illnesses, it changes how we show up in the world. And it's entirely up to you and the individual, I think, and your body, how you do. I mean, that goes without saying, but I feel like I need to say that it's just because Elizabeth can run marathons and just because I can't doesn't mean that you have to be like either one of us. You can be in between. You can climb Mount Everest. Like there's no limits to what you can and can't do.
I also think like with the rewiring, like I don't think I would have ever attempted a half marathon if I didn't have Addison's. I think it's pushed me to do things differently and want to accomplish things and be successful in different ways because I can't in other ways.
Exactly.
Like you were saying, like comparing yourself to other people. My favorite, and that's very sarcastic, thing that people say is, I'm so tired.
Ugh.
You don't know what being tired feels like. And so like when I go out and I run and I'm tired, like it's a very different thing. And I think that's what like pushing myself to accomplish things like this for me is just because I can't do other things that people can, but I can still do this. And that's what I want to do to, push my body still. But yeah, there's a lot of that like comparison when people say stuff. Sometimes I am very empathetic and other times I'm like, today is not the day to talk to me about this. I'm very sorry. I love you still.
I need space.
Yes.
Okay, so for those, people with adrenal insufficiency or adrenal disease and or chronic illness in general, like what's one thing, whether it's advice or something you'd like to say or share to those who'd like to be more active who have chronic illness or Addison's?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like you will be okay and you can do it. Whatever it looks like you were saying, Vanessa, whether you're running half marathons or you're walking and doing light stretching, that's amazing. The fact that you're able to move your body in any way with Addison's is incredible. My biggest advice would be there's a Facebook group called Athletes with Addison's or Adrenal Insufficiency. This group, another thing that like saved and changed my life in the very beginning, they have guides on how to hydrate, how to add electrolytes, workouts to start with. There's everything in there that you could need to start doing whatever you want to do. And it is so inspiring to see people's stories. There's a girl posted the other day that she was doing an Irish dance competition. Someone yesterday posted about he was doing mountain bike, whatever. You know what I mean?
That sounds right.
Yeah,
mountain biking.
Mountain biking. There's people that climb mountains. Like there's a lot of different people in there of all ranges across the world. It's truly incredible. And like people ask for advice all the time. People are commenting, congratulating people. And it's a really cool community to be a part of, regardless of what type of athletic thing you're doing. Like it's as athletes, it's just people being athletic and trying to get back to where they were or even better. And that to me has been the biggest change, is being able to be a part of that group. And also knowing that like you're going to have your bad days. It's going to be trial and error to get active again. But to me, it's worth it. I think being able to be active has helped Addison's a lot for me, just in terms of like making my quality of life a lot better. So I just highly suggest that group. And like if the people in that group are listening, just know that like you all are so amazing. And I'm so grateful to be a part of that community every single day. And I talk about you all the time outside of anybody that even knows about Addison's.
I think finding supportive community who understands what you've gone through is one of the most helpful things in the world when you go through things. Absolutely. It's nice to have people who understand. So I'm so glad that you found that group. I'm so glad that we found each other. And I'm so glad. Thank you for taking the time and energy to share your story and all that you've been through. And again, this is really just the very beginning for Elizabeth. So, but also not saying that you have to do anything else. This is plenty. I'm just so grateful for all that you do and for all that you share. And, Elizabeth is also one of our teen support group co-leaders involved in helping raise awareness with adrenal disease. So just thank you for all that you do all around.
Absolutely. And thank you for creating this community. You were one of the first people that I spoke to when I was diagnosed and made me feel a lot more comforted and hopeful about my life. So thank you for your friendship, your support, your inspiration all the time.
Right back at you, my friend. Thanks for being here, Adrenal Warriors. I'm your host, Vanessa O'Rourke,
Sending you all the spoons, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining in on another episode of All Things Adrenal. This episode is edited and produced by Magdalene Zinke. For more information on the National Adrenal Diseases Foundation, please visit nadf.us. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please leave us a rating and review to help others find out about all things adrenal. If you have a story you want to share or a question you'd like answered, reach out to NADF support at nadf.us.